Hello and welcome to another edition of Yoga and Meditation with me, Librarian Jane, from the Lone Star College Sci Fair, Harris County Public Library. Delighted to be bringing you all of our events online now and this summer. You can check them all out at cyflib.info/events. Okay. So for tonight's class, we are going to be working on Warrior 3. This is a one-legged balance pose, and it is really great for developing strength and balance. And I always like this pose because I feel really strong when I do this pose. Even if I'm not really strong, it helps me feel strong. So this is also sort of a great mental shot of energy as well. I will say, though, that we'll be doing some core work in prep for Warrior 3. So if you were hoping for more of a relaxy, stretchy class tonight, I might recommend that you choose to do a different class in our yoga playlist instead. But if you are ready to work on your strength and your balance and your Warrior 3, let's get into it. So I am recommending a few props for tonight, but they're all optional. I recommend a couple blocks. We're going to be using these when we prep for our Warrior 3. But if you don't have blocks handy, that's okay. You could use a couple of books as long as they're about the same height. You could also just use a chair or a wall as well. So I'll also be showing you how to do this on the wall. So 2 blocks if you have it. We are also going to maybe need a strap, and you could also use a towel or a necktie or, whatever strap-like thing you may have handy. This isn't really a yoga strap. This is a carrying strap for my yoga mat, but I use it as a strap anyway. All right, so we are going to start Reclined tonight. Warrior 3 takes a lot of core strength, and it also takes a lot of strength in the muscles in the outer hips and the glutes to help keep us stable as we're balancing on one leg. So our prep poses tonight are going to be working on core strength and working on getting into those outer hips. So please join me on your back, and we're coming into a reclined bound angle pose. So as you lie all the way back, bring the soles of your feet together. And if this doesn't feel great for you, you have a couple of options. So you can either move your feet away from your hips. That makes it a little less intense. You can also separate the feet. You don't have to have the feet right together. If you have blocks, sometimes it feels really nice when you're in this pose. If you've got your feet together, your knees are spreading wide. If it's just not super comfortable to have your knees hanging out in space like that, you can take your blocks and put one block under each thigh to prop yourself up. So really up to you there. And then once you've chosen on whatever variation of reclined bound angle you want to start with this evening, I like to put my hands on my thighs just to get a little extra weight, a little extra help from gravity to let those thighs open and those knees sink towards the floor. Let's just take a few breaths to transition into our time and our practice tonight. So you can leave the eyes open or you can gently close them for this. But go ahead and take a deep inhale through your nose. And exhale out of your mouth. Good. Inhale through your nose. Deep sigh. Just feeling any stress or worry or leftover things from our day. Let's try and release them here. So take our deepest inhale yet through the nose. And our deepest exhale, release yet. Good. And then you can close your mouth. We're inhaling and exhaling through the nose now. If it feels good, you could move your head from side to side. You could roll your wrists, just starting to let your body warm up, feel good. And just take another couple breaths here in this bound angle pose. Good. And then bring your hands underneath your thighs. Use your hands to push your knees back in together. And then step your feet as wide as your mat and just windshield wiper the knees back and forth. Just starting to warm up the hips, the legs. And then come to stillness. Hug the knees into your chest. And for just a moment, drive your knees around. So one hand on top of each knee, just sort of moving those knees around in circles. And then go ahead and switch the direction of your circles. And then go ahead and bend the knees so that your thighs are perpendicular to the floor and your shins are parallel. That's the goal anyway, that our knees are at 90 degrees. Don't worry if it's a little bit further turned in. So we're going to do some core work here. Again, we're working up to Warrior 3 with core work. So what we're going to be doing, and you can just watch me for this first one, we're going to inhale where we are, hands are long on the mat, and then on our exhale, we're going to lift the head and neck and shoulders off the mat and try and bring our nose to our knees. It's not going to touch, but that's the action. We're going to stay here for an in-breath, and then we're going to exhale back down. We're going to do a few of those, okay? All right. So hands long by your sides, knees are bent and lifted. Inhale where you are. And then on your exhale, peel the head, neck, and shoulders off. And I want you to think about pulling your lower abs down to the mat. Inhale where you are here. And then exhale, return to the mat. Head, neck, arms, return. Inhale where we are. Exhale, pull the lower belly in as you rise. Stay here for your inhale. And then exhale down. One last one. Inhale where you are. Exhale, pull the lower belly down as you rise and lift. And then on your next exhale, come all the way down. Hug the knees into the chest and take a rock from side to side. And then eventually go ahead and rock all the way over onto one side and use your hands to push yourself up to a hands and knees position. We're going to come into tabletop. All right, so make sure that your tabletop is all lined up. Knees underneath the hips, wrists underneath the shoulders. And we'll take some cat-cow. So on your next inhale, draw out the belly and look up for cat. And on your exhale, round the back, tuck the chin to the chest. Good. Another few more with your own breath and your own time. And you can bring some movement to this. So maybe on your cow, your hips shift forward a little bit. And then maybe on your cat, your hips shift back towards the heels. Just making your cat-cow feel good in your body this evening. Good. Let's do another couple of rounds. Last cat. And then come back to a neutral spine. We're going to do some more of that core work and work that in. All right, so as you're ready, bring the right hand forward and stretch the left leg back. So we're on our toes on our left leg here. Good. Now, you can stay right here. You're getting balance, you're getting lift. But for right now, lift just that back leg up. So keep the front foot down. I just want you to feel something. I want you to feel as your leg is lifted up that your hips are squared. So both hip points are pointing down towards the floor. That back foot is flexed and toes are pointing down. So just keep that in mind because this is the feeling in our legs and our lifted back leg that we're going to keep in mind for our warrior three. Okay. All right. Now, if you want, you can let the right arm join it. Lift. Inhale. On your exhale, crunch it in. Bring elbow and knee to touch under your stomach. Good. 2 more. Inhale, long. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, long. Exhale, crunch it in. Last time, inhale, long. And then set arm and knee down and take a couple cat-cow between sides. Good. And then when you're ready, come back to a neutral spine. We'll grab that other side. So left hand comes out just a little bit further than your right hand. Just leave that where it is. And then for right now, I want you to come off that back right leg. And then lift it up so that back foot is flexed, toes point down, and just feel that feeling, right, of both hip points squared down towards the mat and both hips level, that back foot strong and flexed. Good. Now you can let that left arm join the party. Inhale, get long. Exhale, crunch it in. Hand, elbow, and knee meet in the center. Inhale, long. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, long. Exhale, crunch. Ooh, I forgot how many that was. We'll just do one more. Inhale, long. Exhale, crunch. And last time, inhale, extend. And then put it down. And we'll just take a couple cat-cow between sides. Or afterwards. Don't worry, we're not going back to the other side. Good. All right, now here in your tabletop, we're going to work in a last little bit of core. So I want you to go ahead and straighten just the right leg back. And you can stretch back into that calf. And then bring that right knee, right leg back. Let's stretch just the left foot back. Back leg nice and long, driving through the back of the heel towards the back of the mat. Good. And then bring it back. Now, you can keep alternating legs like that, or if you want a little bit more of a core challenge, we're going to lift both knees off the mat into plank. We're going to do that 3 times, so you can make your choice. All right, so you're either extending one leg at a time, or tuck both toes, come on up to plank, and then exhale, knees down. Okay, you can take a breath to recover in between. Inhale where you are. Exhale, tuck the toes, lift both knees. We're here in plank. We'll take a breath. And then exhale, return. All right, last one. Inhaling where we are, exhaling, tucking both toes, both heels, drive back. Plank, one big, long, strong line from the crown of our head down to our heels. And then exhale. Put your knees back down and press it back to child's pose. Now come forward into tabletop. That was a lot on our wrists, so I want you to go ahead and reverse the wrists so that your fingertips are pointing back towards you. And just give a gentle stretch. Just gently lean back till you feel a stretch in those wrists. And then gently reverse the hands and come to stand on your knees. We're going to take a gate pose, another pose that's great for our core strength and hips. So you can face the long edge of your mat, so you're totally on the mat when you do this, but you don't have to face the long edge of your mat. So we're standing on top, we're standing on our knees, our hips are directly over our knees here. Leave the left leg as it is, and bring the right foot out to the side so that that right leg is making a 45-degree angle. Those right toes are pointing straight forward. Right palm faces up on top of the right leg. Inhale, left arm rises. Exhale, side stretch over that right leg. And you might not be side stretching very far. It might just be a little one. But we're feeling one long stretch from left fingertips all the way through left hips. Good. Inhale, come back. And just for a quick counter stretch, left hand down, right arm lifts up and over. Good. And then come on back to center. We'll take the other side. So once again, standing on our knees, right hip over right knee, left leg out to the side, left toes point forward, left palm faces up, left leg. Inhale your right arm up, and on your exhale, side stretch to the left. And think about, if you can, make sure that chest is not pointing down, but that right side of the chest, your right shoulder blades pressing into the back of your chest to help keep that right side of the chest open. And you can even gaze up underneath that right arm. Good. Inhale, come on up. Right hand down, left arm up and over for the brief counter stretch. Then inhale, come on back. If you turn to face the side of your mat, go ahead and face the front of your mat again, and then sit back on the heels and fold over into your child's pose. And now we're going to transition to a stand. So looking forward at your hands, making sure they're shoulder width apart, fingertips spread wide, pressing down and rooting forward with the hands. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, lift the hips, come up and back to downward facing dog. And just for our first few breaths here in downward facing dog, let's bend one knee and then the other. And then two straight legs. Gently sway the hips back and forth. And then taking your time, coming to stillness. And then taking your time, slowly walk your feet towards your hands. When you get there, feet together or hips width apart, whatever feels best with your body. On your next inhale, bring the hands to the shins, flatten the back, lift up halfway. Exhale, re-bend the knees, refold. Okay, let's do a couple more like that. Inhale, hands to the shins, lift up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, refold. Last time, inhale, thighs back, chest and crown forward. Exhale, fold. And then with the knees bent, slowly roll up. Gently, one vertebrae at a time. And then when you get there, roll the shoulders back. Nice. So we're just going to stay here in mountain pose for a breath or two. So take a moment to look down at your feet. Make sure your four corners of your feet are planted strongly in the earth. You can even lift up your toes to feel that feeling. And then replanting the toes, engaging the calves and thighs, tucking the tailbone, feeling the shoulder blades melting down your back. In fact, maybe roll the shoulders back so that you can feel that action, shoulders away from the ears, gazing forward. Nice. Okay, now we're going to do a little prep for Warrior 3. And this is one area where you may want to have your strap handy, or your tie or your towel or whatever you're using. But if you don't have one, don't worry, it is not necessary for this. So keep it in your hand though. If you are using one, just keep it in your hand rather than off to the side. Okay, so we're in our mountain pose. I want you to put a lot of the weight into your left foot. So transfer your weight into your left foot. Get your right foot really light. And then bend the knee and lift that right foot off the mat. Now, you can stay right here. This is a great way to practice this. Look straight ahead. Make sure you're looking at something steady to balance with. Or if you want to go a little bit further, you can take your strap. You can strap it around the ball of that right foot. Okay, both straps into the right hand on the left hip. And you can slowly straighten that top leg. So whichever variation you've chosen, I can't look at the camera and talk like this. Whichever variation you've chosen, whether it's your knee bent or whether you're using the strap, the feeling that I want you to focus on right now is your standing leg, so your left leg. I want you to feel that your left leg is very solid, very supported. You're rooting that left foot down into the earth to keep you balanced. I also want you to feel your hip points. Try as much as you can to let your hip points be level and be pointing forward. Okay, so make sure that one hip's not much higher than the other. And if that means that your leg is lower to make sure that your hips are level, that's fine. Good. Okay, unstrap that leg, return that right foot, shake it out. Do whatever you need to do to get ready for the next side. All right, next side. So I'm going to hold my strap in my left hand for right now. Standing tall. Go ahead and feel most of your weight transferring to the right foot. Left heel peels off the mat. Left heel feels nice. Whole left foot and leg feels nice and light. Okay, so lift the left leg up and you can keep that knee bent. Or you can strap around the ball of that left foot. Good thing I have a wall right here. Two straps, both straps in your left hand. Right hand to your right hip. And go ahead and extend that leg out. And it can still be bent. It doesn't have to be straight. The feeling, again, that I want you to be focusing on here, because I want you to remember it when we're in Warrior 3, is the feeling of our standing leg. Very strong, very supported, pressing into the earth. And the feeling of our hips level and both hip points facing forward. Good. And then bend that left knee, release your strap, and shake it out. That's the only real thing we're doing with our strap, so you can put that aside for now. So just as a little preview, when we get into Warrior 3, we'll basically be doing that in reverse. So the standing leg is the one that will be out in the air balancing. All right. Let's start to put this all together. Come to the top of your mat. We'll start our flow as usual with a few half salutations to help us link our breath and movement. So taking our mountain pose, gaze is straight ahead. Exhale all the breath. And on your inhale, arms will rise. Exhale, bend the knees, fold forward. Inhale, hands to your shins, flatten the back, lift halfway. Exhale, refold. Inhale, press feet into the earth to help you rise. Look, see your hands. Exhale, hands return to your sides or into prayer. Good, let's take a couple more. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, bend the knees and fold. Inhale, lift halfway, flat back. Exhale, bend the knees, refold. Inhale, rise, strong. Maybe a little back bend at the top. Exhale, hands return. Okay, for our third half salutation, take it with your own breath and your own time. Good. Returning to your mountain pose. Nice. All right, let's keep going. When you're ready, inhale, the arms will rise. Exhale, bend the knees and fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway, flat back. Exhale, plant the hands, step one, and then the other foot back, coming right into downward facing dog. And if you need to readjust your feet here, that's fine. Know that your heels might not touch the ground. That's totally fine. Okay, so we are going to practice and prep for it with a three-legged dog. So I want you to think about putting a lot of the weight into the right foot. Doesn't matter, I don't know, I'm trying to do equal sides. So put a lot of the weight into your right foot, and then leading with your left heel, try and lift that left foot, left leg off the mat any amount. Okay, three-legged dog. And then set that left foot back down, and we'll go with the right foot. When you're ready, put a lot of the weight into the left foot, and then leading with that right heel, lift that right foot off the mat any amount. Set it back down. Bring the knees down to the mat, and then come all the way down onto your belly. Forearms out in front. Come into Sphinx pose. So top of the feet press into the mat. Almost feeling like we're pulling back with the hands, getting the shoulders away from the ears. And then look over your left shoulder. Look over your right shoulder. Come on back to center. And then exhale, plant the hands underneath your shoulders. You can either press to plank and then downward facing dog, or press yourself back to your hands and knees, and then tuck the toes and lift the knees and hips. Your choice. Good. Inhale where you are. And then on your exhale, step one, and then the other foot forward. Next inhale, hands to shins, lift halfway, flat back. Exhale, refold. And inhale, arms rise. Exhale, arms return. Nice. All right, let's keep going. Mountain pose, top of the mat. Inhale, arms will rise. Exhale, bend the knees and fold. Inhale, hands to shins, lift up halfway. Exhale, refold, step one. And then the other foot back to downward facing dog. And we're going to try that leg lift again with a twist. So when you're ready, leading with the left heel, lift that left leg any amount off the mat. And now, turn that left leg out, so left toes are pointing to the left, and bend that left knee. This is something my beloved yoga teacher and friend Afton calls peeing dog. Inhale where we are, and then exhale, turn that left hip point so it's facing back towards the mat. And then bring that left foot in between the hands. And it's okay if it takes a couple steps for us to get there. Good. Turn and ground that back right heel so that those right toes are pointing out 45 degrees. And then bring one and then the other hand to your hips and lift on up. So I want you to feel in this warrior one that your weight is evenly distributed between both legs, and if you need to make that stance a little bit shorter, if you need to move that left foot out to the left a little bit more, go for it. But I want you to feel as though your hips are level, and I want you to feel as though they could both point towards the front of the mat. They probably don't, they might not, but feel as though they could both point towards the front of the mat. Okay? Hands on the hips, and then feel yourself pulling your waist out of your hips, pulling the rib cage out of the waist, so our whole torso is getting tall. And then re-drop, re-bend into that front knee. And the last piece is our arms to lift. Warrior one. Inhale where you are. And on your exhale, bring your hands behind you, clasp your hands, pull them down so the fingers are reaching towards the floor. And then I want you to lean that torso over the front knee. Get as close as you can without actually touching that front thigh with your torso. We're just leaning over, building that core strength. Good. And then inhale, come on back up, straighten both legs. Turn both toes towards the right. Make sure that toes and heels are in line with each other, hands on the hips. Inhale where you are. And on your exhale, bend the knees slightly and fold forward, bringing the hands down onto the mat or holding on to the ankles or the calves, wherever it feels best for you. When you're here though, inhale, lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale, refold. If it feels good here, you can nod your head yes. And you can shake your head no. All right. Inhale, lift up halfway, hands to the hips. And exhale, use your core to pull yourself all the way back up. Nice, and we'll take the other side. So turn the right toes out. Actually, we're going to turn our hips and our toes to face the back of the mat. And then we're going to bend down into that front knee. Okay, so front knee is vertical, front toes point forward. Back heel is on the mat, back heel is at around a 45-degree angle. Good. And then same thing again, readjust your feet if you need to make the stance a little bit wider or a little bit shorter. We're hoping to keep our hip bones, our hips level, and to keep our hip bones as much as possible facing forward, knowing that might not be possible for right now. Good. All right, lifting up that torso, getting tall. Last piece of this is the arms. And then exhale, clasping the hands behind us. Inhale, arch back, pull the fingertips down, and then exhale, fold over that thigh without actually touching it. We're building core strength, we're building balance. Inhale, come on up. Gently release those hands. And then coming off the back heel, both hands around that front foot. We're coming down to the mat. You can either come through plank and lower all the way down, or bring the knees down and lower belly down that way. Hands underneath the shoulders, elbows hug in, tops of the feet press into the mat, hands press into the mat. Peel the chest and ribs off into cobra. And then exhale back down. Coming through tabletop or plank to your downward facing dog. Breath or two in dog pose. And then walk your hands back to your feet. When they get there, take an inhale, hands to the shins, lift halfway, flat back. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, rise all the way to your stand. Exhale, hands return. Very nice. Okay. So now we are going to prep our warrior three, and then we're going to build it into our flow. So here is where, if you're using blocks, you might want to grab your 2 blocks, and we're going to put them down on the mat about shoulder width apart for us. And if you're ever wondering how far apart shoulder width is or hips width is, you can gauge this a couple different ways. So one is to grab opposite arm. So I need to make those a little bit a little bit narrower. The other way you can do it is to take your 2 fists and bring them down between your feet and make sure that's the distance, right? So that's hips width for you. Now, you don't have to use blocks for this. You could also grab like a stool or a chair and have that chair back in front of you. Or you could do this on the wall. So I have a wall right here. This is not ideal to have. But on my wall here, what I could do is lean down until I am far enough away from the wall so that my hips are still over my ankles, but when I reach my hands out, my back is flat. So you can kind of make yourself into an L shape at the wall for this. You can have a chair in front of you, or you can grab blocks. I'm going to use blocks. All right. So inhale where you are, and then fold over so that your hands are on your blocks or your wall or your chair. And here we want to make sure that our ankles are right underneath our sits bones. And we want to make sure that our wrists are underneath our shoulders. Okay? All right. So bring all of the weight into your left foot. And then just bring your right foot back with your right toes still on the mat. And now, I want you to feel here as though your wrists, the blocks, they're not bearing all of the weight. I want you to feel as if you could maybe lift your hands off the blocks and you'd still feel strong and balanced because a lot of the weight's in your left leg, okay? So, weight into your left leg, not all dumping into the wrists. Our right toe is on the mat behind us, so I want you to picture the inseam of your leg. So if you're wearing pants, picture where that inseam of the pant is, all the way up to the inner thigh. And I want you to lift your leg, leading with that inner thigh. Okay, ready? Lift it up, leading with the inner thigh. Those toes point down. Does not matter how high you bring that leg. It can be an inch off the ground. Good. Lower it down. You're still good. Inhale, come up halfway, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Okay, we're doing a forward fold in between sides. Good. Inhale back, hands back to your blocks or your chair. Putting all of our weight into our right foot. Left foot toe comes behind us, all of our weight in our right foot. And then leading with that inseam of the left leg, inhale, lift that left leg off the mat, any amount. Feel that left foot flexing, toes pointing down. Feel that left hip point facing down. Good. Lower it back down. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Okay. All right, so we're going to try another variation. And in all of this, right, we're remembering that feeling of our hip points pointing in the same direction and our hip points being level. Okay, we're feeling that feeling of our leg that's coming off the mat, feet are flexing, feeling really strong. Okay, now we're going to try another variation of this. So come on back. Okay, once more, all the weight into your left foot, right toes behind you. Now this time, turn that right hip out and then lift that right leg. Okay, and you might have an easier time of it here because now it's your big glute muscle helping lift it up. Now, the hip is still turned out, so what I want you to try and do is turn that right hip down so that hip point faces the mat and flex those right toes. And if you want to experiment here, you can try and bring your hands off the blocks to see how you might be balancing. Good. Bring that right foot down. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Okay. All right. Last variation, last side, and then we're going to try it out for real. All right, so all of our weight into our right foot. Left toes come behind us. And then left hip rolls out. Okay, so that left hip point is facing off to the left. And then lifting that up, we might find we can lift it higher because our glute is helping us. And then we're going to try and work to turn that left hip point down towards the mat and flex those left toes. And if you want, you can try and lift the hands off the blocks or your wall to see if you're balancing. And then set that left leg back down. Last time, inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. And then bend the knees and roll yourself up to a stand. Now, if you came off your mat to use a wall or a chair, come on back. You can release those if you want. If you think you might want to use them, though, kind of just keep them handy up at the front of your mat. Okay. All right, so we're going to sort of put everything together now. Come on to the top of your mat, mountain pose. Hands by your sides, gaze is forward. This is our last little bit of strength and effort, and then we'll bring it all down to the mat to stretch out. Okay? Exhale everything. And then inhale, arms rise. Exhale, bend the knees and fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, flat back. Exhale, plant the hands. Both feet step back, downward facing dog. Okay. Inhale, lift that right leg off the mat, any amount, leading with the heel. Turn the hip out, bend the right knee. Look under the right arm. And then return, right hip points down. Swing that right leg through between your hands. Left heel pivots down towards the mat. We'll rise into our warrior one. Good. Now, hands to the hips. Come off this back heel. Okay, so that your back toes are on the mat, but your heel is lifted. Roll the shoulders back, clasp the hands behind you. Inhale, arch back. Exhale, lean that torso over that thigh. And now, you can bring the hands to the hips. And I want you to lean forward so much that you feel all that weight come into the right foot. The left toes, we're just peeling up until we're on one toe. And then try and take that leap until you can't lean forward anymore. You gotta lift that left leg off the mat into your warrior three. And you can put your hands down on your blocks or your wall here. But I want you to feel that all that weight is in that strong right standing leg. That back leg we're trying to keep parallel to the mat. That left hip points down, those toes point down, that foot is flexed. So remember that feeling of when we were standing with one leg lifted and how I said, feel how strong that leg feels and supported. That's what I want you to picture, like you have a wall or a floor behind that back foot. And that's keeping you stable. Good. Inhale where you are. Exhale, just bring that left foot down to meet the right one. You probably feel lopsided. That's okay. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. And step it back to downward facing dog. Okay, we got one more side. When you're ready. Inhale, lift that left leg off the mat, any amount. Open that left hip to the side, maybe bend that knee, look up underneath the left arm. And then bring that left hip back in, left hip points down. Left foot in between the hands. Right heel pivots down, we lift into warrior one. And then exhale. Clasping those hands behind us. Inhale, arch back. Exhale, lean the torso over that front thigh. And then at this point, you can pivot off that back heel, so just the back toes on the mat. You can release your hands to your hips. Lean forward, lean forward, lean forward until we're putting all that weight into our left foot. And that right leg flies up into warrior three. Now, you can leave hands on hips. I like to practice this pose with my hands in prayer position. And I'm feeling one strong line of energy from the crown of my head all the way down my back through my right heel. Now, if you wobble, I'm wobbling a lot on that side, that is okay. You can bring your hands down to your blocks. And then drop that right foot next to meet the left one. Inhale, hands to the shins, flat back. Exhale, fold. Good. Inhale one more time, flat back. Exhale, fold. Oh gosh, that felt good. Let's do that once more. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, fold. Nice. All right, now Scooch the feet out so feet are really wide. I'm going to turn to face you in this one. So feet are very wide, toes point out, heels are in. And then I want you to bend the knees and sink into a squat. You have a couple options here. So if you find that it's really hard to get your heels down in this pose, you can bend the sides of your mat up and you can rest your heels on those mat rolls. Or, and this feels really nice, I think I'm going to practice this way today. If you have a block, you can just pop it there under your sits bones and let that block support you in your Malasana Squat. So I want you to feel here that your elbows are pushing into your knees. Our hands are in a prayer position, but our knees, our legs are pushing in while our arms are pushing out. So we've got those counter forces there. And feel that your crown of your head is reaching towards the ceiling, the tailbone towards the floor. So our chest is up here. We're not caved in. Hopefully our chest and collarbones are broad and wide. Malasana. Let's just take a nice little twist here. So bring the right hand down somewhere in front of and inside of your right foot. And then inhale, lift the left arm up and let the gaze and the torso follow that left arm. Okay, garland pose. And then bring your hands back to prayer. And we'll take the other side. So left hand down, right arm up and open. Little twist here. Good. And then bring it back down. One last moment with hands in prayer. And then if you were using the block, come off the block, remove it, and gently come onto your seat. However you want to make your way there. It might be more or less graceful. Both legs out long. Move your extra love, as my lovely teacher Afton also says, so that our sits bones are resting evenly on the earth. Inhale, arms by the ears. And exhale with a long spine fold forward, bringing those hands wherever they want to rest. Paschimottanasana is the name of this pose. So with each in-breath, you can think about that spine and that crown extending. With each out-breath, you can think about maybe folding in just a little bit more. Good. One last deep inhale here. And on your exhale, slowly, gently release. Come on back. Okay. So for this next one, this is going to be a nice outer hip stretch, and you have a few different options with this next one. So option one is going to be a cow-faced pose, or at least the leg version. So bend the left knee is on the mat. Right foot comes to the outside of the left knee, and then we come to the outside of the right foot, and the goal here is to try and get the knees stacked on top of one another while still having the sits bones down on the earth. Now, if you have this here, you can place one hand into each arch of the foot and gently press down and sit tall. Now, if this is not working for you, if this is not what you want to be doing right now, you have a couple other options. Your second option is fire logs. So in fire logs, we have our same left leg down, right ankle on top of left knee, right knee on top of left ankle. And if there's a really big gap between there, this is a spot where you can take a block and help even it up. Now, make sure that if you're in this variation, your ankle isn't sickling in, so you don't want it to kind of curve in. So I want you to look and make sure that that skin around your ankle is smooth, right? It's not wrinkled because it's coming in. Now, if neither of these options are floating your boat tonight, you can bring the feet together into a bound ankle pose the way we did reclined when we first started. I'm going to take fire logs though. All right, so inhale, get really tall, whichever version you've chosen. And if this is enough of a stretch in your outer hips, stay right here, stay upright. If you think you want a little bit more in your upper hips though, on your next exhale, you can slowly walk your hands forward and bow the head. Okay, so just do whatever variation of this pose you need to make this feel as good as it can in your outer hips. And same thing with this one. You can use each exhale to help fold yourself a little bit further into that pose, as long as we are not stretching past the point of sensation to the point of pain. We never want to do that. Hopefully we're feeling this in the outer right hip, outer right glute. And if you're feeling this in the inner groins, you may want to pull that stretch back a little bit. All right. Everyone take a deep inhale. And on your exhale, slowly walk the hands back in. Send both legs long and just sit back on your elbows for a second and just move the feet back and forth. Yoga teacher I take from online once called this resting on the beach pose. Okay, good. And then sit back up and let's take the other side. So if you were taking the cow face pose variation, now your right leg is on the mat and your left knee is folded on top of that. If you're taking fire logs, your left ankle is on top of right knee. No, your left knee is on top of right ankle, left ankle on top of right knee. Our left leg is on top, or you can take that same bound ankle pose. So notice real quick before you decide if you're going to fold forward or not, notice how this side feels different. My left hip is a lot tighter than my right hip. So for me, this is a lot of stretch right here. If you do feel pretty good and you want to bring a little bit more sensation to this stretch though, inhale, get tall. And then on your exhale, slowly walk the fingertips out. Ooh, and this is it for me. This is where I'm feeling it. So I'm not going to stretch past the point of sensation. I'm not going to stretch into pain. I'm going to try not to let my ego get in the way to say, oh, well, I can't go as far on this side. That's okay. Every day is different, every side is different, every body is different. Breathing into that left outer hip. And when you hear yoga teachers say breathe into a particular spot, what I think of, what I like to visualize when a yoga teacher tells me that is on my in-breath, I picture that breath sort of coming from that place in my body. And then on my out breath, I picture that breath going to that spot on my body and just sort of like clearing it out, like a wind clears out debris. It's clearing out the cobwebs and any sensation in that particular area for me. So you can use whatever visualization works best for you, but that is what works for me. A couple more breaths here. Good. Last deep inhale here. And then on your exhale, slowly walk those fingertips in. Okay. And then one last time, again, send both legs long and relaxing at the beach, just moving the hips, moving the legs back and forth. Good. All right. Now bend those knees so that feet come to the earth. We're going to be rolling down to a reclined position. So arms out straight. Inhale where you are. On your exhale, thinking about tucking the tailbone, thinking about pulling those lower abs in as you roll all the way down with control. Good. And then once your head and your back are flat on the mat, bend the knees into your chest. And one last little hip opener here. Reach up inside your legs, grab the outsides of your feet. Knees and feet wide, feet point up towards the ceiling, happy baby. So feeling like those knees could bend right into our armpits. Feeling a nice stretch here on the inner groin, outer hips hopefully. And you can stay still right here, or sometimes it feels nice to rock your baby, roll back and forth a little bit. Excellent. All right, go ahead and release. Hug those knees into the chest. Maybe take one last rock. And then go ahead and release into your rest pose. So send the legs long down the mat. Take a second and bring the toes in to touch and then splay them out. Take a second, lift your hips. Make sure that tailbone is resting nicely. Make sure we have a little bit of space there, that little space underneath the low back. So we keep that natural curve of our spine. And then nestle those shoulder blades underneath you. And hands can rest long at our sides, palms facing up. And sometimes I like to practice this pose with one hand on my belly and one hand on your heart. So wherever you've chosen to be, take a deep inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh it out of your mouth with sound. One more like that. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. And then release back into the mat. We have a good minute and a half or so we can spend here in our rest pose. Or you can choose to stay as long as you would like. But lying back, feeling your muscles, relaxing their grip on the bone, feeling your muscles melting down into the earth. There's no reason to keep any muscle tense. The earth is supporting you. So relax the forehead. Relax the jaw. With your mouth closed, make sure the teeth are parted slightly. If your tongue is touching the roof of the mouth, take it off. Relax the belly. Relax the toes. And take a moment to enjoy this fruit of your practice after a great amount of effort. And I'll let you know when it's time to come back. With your next inhale, start to deepen your breath. Bring some movement back to the body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circle the wrists and the ankles. And take a deep morning stretch. Stretch your fingers and arms and toes away from each other. And then bend your knees, bring your feet to the earth. And roll over onto one side. Taking your time, press yourself up to a seated position. Eyes can stay closed. Then I invite you to meet me in a seated position, your eyes gently closed, your palms touching in front of your heart. Thank you all so much for practicing with me this evening and taking a leap and practicing Warrior 3 if that's new to your practice. Bow your head, drop your hands, and gently blink your eyes open and come back center. Excellent job tonight. Thanks so much for practicing with me. I'll see you at the next one.